All right, what's going on, y'all? Today we're going to rank the forms of cardio for bodybuilding from worst to best. So if your goal is bodybuilding, physique development, building the most ideal and optimal physique for you, today we're going to cover the cardio modalities that are going to give you the best shot at having your most ideal physique through the process. So a couple caveats before we get into it. First off, all of these cardio modalities, if structured properly, will give you a fantastic physique. Even the worst cardio modality on this list, you can still have a fantastic physique with that cardio modality. But if your goal truly is building the most optimal physique and having your cardio modality essentially be optimal for your bodybuilding, that's what you're going to want to focus on with this. But the whole point is you will absolutely be able to still have a fantastic physique even if you choose the worst cardio modality on this list. It just might not be the most optimal for having the most ideal physique. Caveat number 2 is this is my own personal opinion based off of what I've seen with myself, hundreds of clients, and then based off of my own research and learnings within bodybuilding and just the physique world and physiology and all of that. My whole theory and premise behind bodybuilding is the bodybuilding and the lifting training intensity should be paramount, and you shouldn't have your cardio modality take away from that. And what too many people have now is no fatigue management, and they're allowing their cardio modality to jack up fatigue so high that it takes away from their bodybuilding and training performance, which ultimately will hurt the look. So that's where most of this list is coming from. It's coming from a fatigue management standpoint, allowing the individual to still have the most maximum amount of intensity in the gym to allow their bodybuilding to really be at the forefront and not just be overdoing cardio. All right, so with that being said, let's get into it. So number 6, my least favorite cardio modality for bodybuilding, for physique purposes, is running, specifically long distance running. And this is coming from an ultra runner myself. If you guys have followed the channel for a while, you know I absolutely love running. I spent the majority of the beginning of this year even really just focused on running. With that being said, I had everything dialed in from the balance of training and fatigue management, eating, recovery, everything. I had everything dialed in. And if you guys followed me on Instagram watching my physique check-ins each week, you saw that even with everything being dialed in, my physique looked less and less sharp each week that went on. I still had a fantastic physique and was still able to really maintain a fantastic upper body. But the running definitely did pull away from my physique, even with me trying to maximize everything on the bodybuilding side as well. And this comes down to a few different reasons. First off is running is insanely high fatigue causing. So out of all your cardio modalities, running is going to cause the most increase in systemic fatigue out of most cardio modalities out there. So what that typically means is now this is going to pull some intensity from your lifting sessions. The other point to it, and this is part of the fact that it is so high fatigue causing, is it's also very catabolic. So what we want with our cardio modalities is we want it to be as anti-catabolic as much as possible. We do not want to be ripping off muscle tissue and burning into muscle tissue while we perform our cardio modality, at least as much as possible. And running happens to be very have high catabolism. It's going to burn into your muscle tissue, and especially within your hamstrings and glutes. That repetitive nature and that kind of overuse on your hamstrings and glutes is going to make not only the development of your hamstrings and glutes much harder, but it's actually going to, in a lot of cases, pull away. I lost the most amount of hamstring and glute tissue while running than any other time. It just makes it very hard to maintain a really strong, well-developed lower body while doing so much long distance running. And this comes down to the fact that, the body is very good at adapting to the stimuli given. So, if you're, pounding miles out on the road or the trail on a pretty frequent basis, your body's going to want to adapt to that. And being a big bodybuilder is essentially in the complete opposite of what your body wants to be efficient for running. They're kind of working in opposite of each other. So running in itself is going to make physique development and in physique enhancement, having the most ideal, optimal physique, much harder. With that being said, you can still have a fantastic physique running. If you love running, you can have a fantastic physique doing it. Just don't expect to be a highly competitive bodybuilder while doing a lot of running miles. All right, my fifth least favorite cardio modality for bodybuilders to do is any upper body heavy cardio modality. So a really popular one would be rowing. I personally love rowing. I love getting on the row erg and really busting it out, especially in WODs or if I'm doing high intensity interval training. With that being said, same thing goes with the running with your lower body. If you're doing a lot of upper body work with your cardio modality, this is going to take away from when you do those upper body movements within your lifting sessions. So if you're doing a lot of your cardio work on, say, a row machine, when you get to your back day or hitting biceps, you're probably not going to be putting out the same exact output as if you had chosen a more efficient cardio modality that wasn't just taking a beating on those individual muscle groups. So my fifth least favorite cardio modality for bodybuilders to do is any upper body heavy cardio modality. Take the row erg, for example, ski erg, even boxing. While these are great and you can absolutely have a very sharp, fantastic physique using these cardio modalities, for bodybuilding purposes, these aren't going to be the best. All right, my fourth favorite cardio modality for bodybuilders, and this is going to be somewhat of a controversial take because a lot of bodybuilders and coaches have this way higher up on their list as either the 1 or 2 slot, but this is high intensity interval training. Now, the reason I have this in the 4 slot and not number 1 or 2 is this typically does create a little bit more higher fatigue than my 1 to 3 slots. But then 2, this is much harder to track and keep standardized across the board, especially through a dieting phase for most bodybuilders. What happens is a lot of times with these HIIT sessions, they usually typically aren't the same thing every single time. You might have one interval session might be a WOD where you might be doing different stations. One station could be push-ups, one station could be battle ropes, but it's just high intensity for those 15 to 20 minutes, could be 20 minutes sprinting. The point is typically for most people, when they do HIIT for their cardio, it's not the same HIIT session every single time. So now what you have is one session you might be burning 200 calories with a high systemic fatigue increase. The other time you might burn 250 calories with a different type of HIIT training with less systemic fatigue. So it's just really hard to systematically track how everything's going. What we want with our cardio, we want our cardio to just be a tool to help us burn more fat. We don't want this to be anything that's creating more systemic fatigue that would take away from our bodybuilding. So if we're not able to systematically track and have everything standard to where we know what we need to increase or decrease, it makes things a lot trickier. And then you're just kind of throwing darts at a wall and not really having a very clear target. So number 4 is HIIT training, HIIT sessions. While great, and while there's a lot of really competitive bodybuilders that have fantastic staged physiques, doing HIIT training is number 4 on my list, and is kind of I don't love it and I don't hate it. It is kind of middle of the road for me. All right, so now we're getting into more of my favorite types of cardio modalities. So number 3 is going to be cardio modalities like the Stair Master. So this is now getting into steady state cardio modalities, and the Stair Master is great. This works great for a lot of people. The problem is with the Stair Master, especially as you start driving cardio time up or intensity up, this is where the Stair Master, you can see how this starts driving up a lot of fatigue, especially in the lower body. And this absolutely can take away from your lower lifting sessions if the time on the Stair Master gets too high or the effort gets too high. This does not typically end up being a modality that I personally choose. I have some athletes that they love the Stair Master, and so I put them on them. That's another point to this too. The cardio modality you should pick, honestly, is the one that you enjoy the most and you're going to be able to be the most consistent sticking with. So if you just love HIIT training or you just love the Stair Master, definitely rock with that, as that's going to probably give you the best results since you're going to be the most consistent with it and have the most enjoyability with it. So that's where Stair Master fits in with me. I think it's good, not great. It does drive up a little bit too much fatigue, in my opinion, for most people, but it's still a very solid choice. So number 2, this is going to encapsulate quite a few modalities within here, but it's going to be low fatigue causing steady state cardio modalities. So within here, you've got walking on an incline treadmill. You have the stationary bike. I absolutely love the stationary bike. The stationary bike, in my opinion, is one of the best cardio modalities for bodybuilders. It drives up fatigue at a very, very low rate. You can do heavy amounts of cardio time on the bike and still have a very, very, very sharp physique and still be putting 100% intensity into the gym. So we've got incline treadmill walking. We've got the stationary bike. We've got the elliptical. The elliptical is another great one, very low impact, very low fatigue buildup from it. So these are all great options. If you love a prescribed set amount of cardio, because my first modality choice is not that. All of these other choices are essentially prescribed set cardio time. So you might have, you need to do 25 minutes 5 times a week, or you need to do 45 minutes 6 times a week. Whatever your prescribed cardio amount time is, all of these cardio modalities are essentially going to fit within that style, to where you just have a set amount of cardio for however many days of the week, and then you go get on your cardio machine for that amount of time. But this is moving us into point number 1. And point number 1 is one that I've had several of my athletes do over the last couple of years. I personally have done this, and I have had the most success in keeping an incredibly fresh physique through a very long dieting process while still driving up training performance in the gym while burning fat, and that's counting steps. So that's literally not having a prescribed cardio time. So it's not 25 minutes 5 times a week. In this case, it might be doing 10,000 steps a day, but it doesn't matter how you hit those steps. Now, for me personally, a lot of times when I'm tracking steps, I'm going to have a cardio time in the morning. It's typically me going out and walking my dog for 20-25 minutes, and that goes ahead and wipes out a huge chunk of those daily steps for the day. And with this, I'm walking fast. I've got heart rate up, but it's not crazy high. This is not driving up a lot of systemic fatigue. It's me literally going out and walking my dog. And then throughout the rest of the day, after I eat certain meals, I'll go around and get some steps. Obviously, when I'm training in the gym, I'm getting steps. I'm getting steps throughout the entire day. What this is doing is now it's breaking up that cardio rather than say 45 minutes 6 times a day. Now you're breaking up your cardio throughout the entire day rather than just 1 or 2 heavy sessions. And you're able to then, plug this around within your day naturally too. So you're kind of able to spread out that cardio work throughout your entire day by tracking steps. Now, this is where, depending on what division you're competing in, how heavy you were to start with, typically counting steps in my experience typically is going to have a bit longer of a dieting period. So like, let's say you've got 12 to 16 weeks that you predict you need to diet to get to your ideal physique. If you're going to do the counting steps route, it's probably going to be more enjoyable and probably end up with a slightly sharper, fresher physique, but you'll probably need more like 16 to 20 weeks for this dieting phase. It typically takes a little bit longer, but you're typically able to focus on the actual bodybuilding and maintaining that really sharp physique rather than going super catabolic, driving up fatigue, losing training performance, and then losing the look. If you guys have followed for a while, you know that my absolute worst looks I've had in bodybuilding have been the times when cardio has been super high and systemic fatigue has been super high, that then my lifting training performance goes down. You want to maintain or even improve your lifting training performance to really maintain that look, especially in a dieting phase. So these are my favorite and least favorite cardio modalities. Like I said, my very first pick is going to be, frankly, tracking steps and doing that in a very methodical way. You might start week 1 with every day trying to get 6,000 steps, and then you might bump it to 7. And then, at the end of a dieting phase, you might be at 15 to 20,000 steps a day. So you're able to kind of increase it as needed. And then from there, we have our steady state cardio modalities that are low fatigue driving, like steady, like incline treadmill, stationary bike, elliptical, and then from there, all the other ones fall behind. But my picks 1 and 2, for most people out there, you're gonna have the best physique if you fall within those. With all that being said, all of the cardio modalities I mentioned today, you can have an incredible physique as long as you have your volume to intensity balanced out. But I get asked this question all the time, what are my viewpoints on running for bodybuilding? What are my favorite cardio modalities? And this is the answer. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please go ahead and smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Be happy, be positive, be powerful. Have a great rest of your day.